Okay, today's subject, we're going to talk about midpoints and distance formula, which should be reviewed from Integrated 1. There are some things we're going to add into it, some definitions, some new words you might have not seen before or in a while. The first thing that I want to make sure and point out is when we find the midpoint, it literally is a point, and it is in the middle of a segment. I mean, common sense would dictate that, right? So the midpoint of a segment then divides the segment in half into two congruent segments. Now, this word congruent obviously means equal, so we put tick marks on those spots to say that AM and BM are congruent. Now, here's another term, bisector. To bisect means to cut in half. So therefore, any point, ray, line segment, or plane that cuts a segment into two equal segments is called a segment bisector. So you can see in this case that this green line CD, is a segment bisector of AB because these two tick marks say so. So what would point M be? The midpoint. So here's an example of that. We have a segment XY and a segment VW that intersect at point T. We know that XT is 39.9 centimeters. We also see that these two red marks mean XT and TY are equal. Therefore, what is TY? Well, it would also be 39.9. So if we want to find XY, we would double 39.9. So that would be 79.8 centimeters would be the distance of XY, or the length of XY. Similarly, on 1 and 2, we are supposed to identify the segment bisector and find the length of PQ. Okay, well, what bisects PQ? This does, correct? What is that thing? That, my friends, is a ray. So ray MN is the segment bisector. Now we want to know what's the length of PQ. Well, if PM is 1 7/8, then MQ is 1 7/8. So if we add those two together, we'd have PQ, which would be 3 3¾ I believe. Number 2, if MQ is 2 2/7, then PM is 2 2/7. What's the segment bisector? Looks like it's point M. So therefore, the sum of those two would be 4 4/7. So that would be the length of PQ in that case. All right, now point M is the midpoint of VW. What's the length of VM? Well, the two tick marks tell us that 4x minus 1 must equal 3x plus 3, right? So now all we got to do is find x, then plug it in to see what the length of VM is. So I always pick the larger x and move it that way. So that ends up being x minus 1 equals 3. Add 1. It looks like x is 4. So then I'm going to take 4 and I'm going to plug it in for x. 4 times 4 is 16, minus 1 is 15, so the length of VM is 15. That would also mean that MW is 15, right? Well, check it. 3 times 4 is 12. 12 plus 3 is 15. Number 3, identify the segment bisector of segment PQ. Well, that's line L, isn't it? There's the segment bisector. Find MQ. Well, to do that, we have to find X. So let's find x. Again, 5 is bigger than -2, so we're going to add 2x. Then we're going to add 3. And 7x equals 14. Divide by 7. Everyone knows that's 2. Now we're supposed to find MQ. So that would be 11 minus 4. So MQ is 7. Number 4. What's the segment bisector of RS? Aha, it's in. Then find RS. Okay, we got to do this business again. Set them equal to each other because that's what the midpoint does. It divides it in half, so we set them equal to each other. So 2x minus 12 equals 3. We need to add 12. So 15 equals 2x. What's half of 15? 7.5. Okay, now we're supposed to find RS, which is the entire length. Well, let's put 7.5 in there and add 3. Well, 4 times 7.5 is 30, so that's 33. So RM is 33, so what's MS? 33. So that means RS is equal to 66. Remember, you can pause this anytime you need to slow it down and look at some problems if you don't understand something. Now, the midpoint formula is the easiest formula, in my opinion, that you will learn, period. All you do to find the midpoint, given coordinates of 2 points, and those coordinates are usually x1, y1, and x2, y2, like right there and like right here. All you do is you add the x's, divide by 2, and add the y's, and divide by 2. That is our core concept today. So if we have a segment, RS, that has endpoints of 1, -3, and 4, 2, find the midpoint. Well, I always like writing the M, and then I'm going to take x plus x divided by 2, and y plus y divided by 2. So the midpoint is 5 over 2, -1 over 2. And I would just leave it like that. You could put 2.5 and 0.5, but you don't have to. Okay? Now this is where it gets a little tricky. B says the midpoint of JK is 2, 1. Now I want you to think about this. The midpoint result is the sum of the 2 x's divided by 2 or the sum of the 2 y's divided by 2. So if we know the midpoint is 2, we're working backwards. The x is 2, the y is 1. Well, if one endpoint is 1 for the x and 4 for the y, 1 for the x, 4 for the y, that equals 2 and 1, and then I'd have to divide by 2, correct? So 1 plus x divided by 2 gives you 2. 4 plus y divided by 2 gives you 1. And then it's simply algebra. Multiply both sides by the denominator. You get 1 plus x equals 4, so x is 3. Multiply by 2, 4 plus y equals 2. Subtract 4, y is -2. So the other endpoint, k, is 3, -2. Now a simple way to check yourself is to literally find the midpoint. Is 1 plus 3 divided by 2, 2? Answer is yes. 4 divided by 2 is 2. 4 minus 2 is 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. So that works. So this is the correct endpoint. Okay, if I go over here and let's look at 5, 6, 7, and 8. The endpoints of AB are A, 1, 2, B, 7, 8. Find the midpoint. Okay, easy. X plus x divided by 2 and y plus y divided by 2. Now, if you have any hesitation about what those are, write them out. x sub 1, y sub 1, x sub 2, y sub 2, then put them in the formula if you choose. So that's simply 8 over 2 and 10 over 2, which is going to be 4, 5. So there's our midpoint. Number 6, we're looking for the midpoint again. So x plus x, y plus y. So your midpoint is negative 10 halves, 8 halves, which is negative 5, 4. Those are easy, aren't they? Now let's work backwards on 7. We're given x is 2 for the midpoint and y is 4. This is our x, so 1 plus x divided by 2 is 2. And this is our y, 1 plus y divided by 2. Now solve it. You're going to double both sides. You get 1 plus x equals 4. So x equals 3. So u is going to be 3 something. Multiply by 2. So 1 plus y equals 8. Subtract 1. Y is 7. 3, 7. Now check it and see if it's right. 1 plus 3 is 4. 4 divided by 2 is 2. 1 plus 7 is 8. 8 divided by 2 is 4. Now there are multiple ways to do this, ladies and gentlemen. I know some of you will have your own way of figuring it out, and if you figure it out your way, do it your way, okay? I wonder, has anybody noticed that this number right here, if you just double those two and then do 1 plus x and 1 plus y, you will still get the right answer? That's a little shortcut there. Okay, now, again on 8, we got a typo there. We know the midpoint's negative 1, negative 2, and the endpoint is 4, 4. So we know that 4 plus x divided by 2 is negative 1, and 4 plus y divided by 2 is negative 2. So we double both sides, and you get 4 plus x equals negative 2, 4 plus y equals negative 4. Subtract 4 on both sides. So you should get negative 6, negative 8, I believe. So V is negative 6, negative 8. That can't be right. 4 plus x equals negative 1. What did I do wrong here? Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay, sorry. So we're looking for VW, the midpoints. Okay, so negative 6 plus 4 is negative 2. Half of negative 2 is negative 1. Negative 8 plus 4 is negative 4. Half of negative 4 is negative 2. So that is correct. We did it right. Okay, now the final topic today is in 8.3 is the distance formula. And by far, easiest thing we can do. Simply, as far as algebra goes, I think it's pretty simple. Maybe not as easy as midpoint, but pretty close. Again, we had this last year. Look at the formula. You're going to subtract the x's and square it. Then you're going to subtract the y's and square it. And then you're going to add. So most of us have this formula memorized. If not, that's okay. We're going to do it right now. Okay, here's a little problem. Your school, here's your apartment building, home. Your school is 4 miles east and 1 mile south. So this point, this is your school. Your school then is over 4 down 1. So it's 4, negative 1. A recycling center where your class is going on a field trip is 2 miles east and 3 miles north of your apartment. So that's going to be up there. So 2 and 3. So this point is 2, 3, and this is your recycling center. So we're supposed to estimate the distance between the recycling center and your school, which is right here. Okay? So that would be the distance formula, which is x sub 1, or x sub 2 minus x sub 1 squared plus y sub 2 minus y1 quantity squared. So that RS distance then would simply be x sub 2. It doesn't matter which one you pick. I'm going to pick the bottom one. So it's going to be 4 minus 2 squared plus negative 1 minus 3 squared. So I believe that would be 2 squared plus negative 4 squared, which would be 4 plus 16, which is a square root of 20. Because when you square a negative, guys, it's always going to be positive. Well, the square root of 20 is going to be 4 point something, about 4.5, about 4.5 miles, 4.47. Okay? So we just used these 2 points is all we did, and we plugged them in this formula. So now, a park is 3 miles east and 4 miles south of your apartment. So 3 miles east and 4 miles south. So that's down here, and that's going to be 3, negative 4 is your park. And we want to know the distance between your park and your school right here. Well, again, distance formula. So it'd be x minus x, quantity squared, plus, I use this point first again, it does not matter. However, it's negative 1 minus negative 4, which means that's a plus. So that's going to be 1 squared plus 4 minus 1, which is 3. And that's going to be 1 plus 9, which is radical 10. And radical 10 is going to be a little bit bigger than 3, so that distance is approximately 3.2 miles. So that's just using the midpoint formula and the distance formula. So to wrap it all up here, let's do a midpoint quick and a distance formula quick between A and B. Remember, the midpoint is x plus x divided by 2 and y plus y divided by 2. So your midpoint is going to be 1/2, 4/2, or 1/2, 2. The distance of AB is going to be x minus x. I'm using this one first as my x1. Then 5 minus negative 1, y minus y, which is plus. So that's going to be negative 7 squared plus 6 squared. So 49 plus 36, which is 85. And you can leave it the square root of 85. Doesn't mean a whole lot. It's approximately 9.2. Now that's what these little squiggles mean approximately. Okay, that is it for 8.3. Please refer to your lesson assignment